Hey guys, welcome to our new series called Sled Tech. In this series, we're going to go beyond the marketing language and the catalog, and we're going to talk about all the technical details on these Polaris snowmobiles and what makes them work so well. My name's Nels. I'm going to be your host for this series. I've grown up racing and riding snowmobiles my whole life, and now I get the opportunity to work on the super talented team working on the next generation of Polaris snowmobiles. And for our first episode of the series, we're talking about our factory mod mountain sleds, and that's the Matryx platform. We're on some of the technical details about what makes this snowmobile work so well in the backcountry and how we got there. And to do that, we thought we'd bring a special guest for today's first episode who knows a little bit about riding mountain sleds. Chris Burandt. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for coming.
Nels, thanks for having me.
You've been riding these since the Dragon days. Got a few years of experience on them.
Yes, I have had a lot of experience on the Polaris platform, and thankfully we're not riding Dragons anymore.
We're going to go over some of the technical details and talk a little bit about how we got there.
Awesome. Let's go. Let's dive in.
The first one that we're going to talk about is the raised platform. So when we say raised platform of an RMK, what we mean is that the bulkhead and the tunnel, the actual platform of the vehicle, is raised up off the snow. It's about 1.5 inches higher than a comparable trail sled, and we do that for clearance. We've learned through the last 25 years of building mountain sleds that when you get the vehicle up out of the snow, you reduce the drag that the snowmobile creates in the snow, and it lets it work way better when you want to move it around.
And from a rider standpoint, Nels is really good on the technical side of things, and I'm going to hopefully dive in and explain to you from a rider standpoint what all of those things actually do. And so for me, the raised platform, yes, it does go through the snow better, but one thing that I noticed instantly was it took less effort because I was higher up, giving me more mechanical advantage on the sled. And so anytime you can make the sled do what you want with more efficiency, that makes 430 when you're down in the hole that you don't want to be in a lot better.
The second thing that we're going to talk about on our Matryx last year is the short tapered tunnel in the back. Just like Chris was talking about, getting the vehicle up out of the snow, less effort, less movement to make the vehicle do what you'd like. That's really where the tapered tunnel came from. So when we talk about short tapered tunnel, what we mean here is this taper actually back here. So compared to an Axis, a regular Matryx tunnel is 3 inches shorter. A Matryx tunnel is actually 7 inches shorter overall. So the tunnel has been brought inboard of the vehicle quite a bit, and then it tapers back here. What that does is it gets this rear corner of the vehicle, which sticks into the snow when you're on a steep side hill or trying to move up the hill, and it just gets it out of the snow. Lets the vehicle do its thing, doesn't interfere with the snow, makes it way easier to control.
And again, from a rider standpoint, what you're going to feel here, and the short tunnel thing, this was something that me personally, I had been cutting and chopping and re-welding stuff for a few years, and so it was so awesome to see it, again, a factory mod sled, to see the short tunnel come out. And not only the shortness does help the sled in the snow, but to Nels's point, what the taper does is when you're on edge and you're on that side hill, there's no longer that pivot point of the rear of the snowmobile contacting the snow, lifting the track out and washing out. You can literally be on as steep of slope as you want, and the contact points on the snow stay moving forward instead of washing out.
The third thing we're going to talk about is ergonomics. So like Chris was talking about, being able to control the vehicle when you're on it, and really crawling around a mountain sled isn't like any other power sports out there. With RMKs, on the RMK team, we talk a lot about dynamic, deep snow mobility. You have to move around the vehicle in an incredible way to get it to do what you'd like. We want to make that as easy as possible, make it less tiring and easy to move around. Because of that, everything that the rider touches on an RMK is all specific to RMK. The seat, tank, console, running boards, footwells, handlebars, steering, everything that the rider interacts with is purpose-built around really two big things. The first is keeping it as narrow and compact as possible. It's more or less trying to keep it out of the way. We want to be able to move around the vehicle without getting anything in the way. So it's a narrow seat and tank right here up at the front, 3 inches narrower than an Axis, carrying that back, the slope taper design down to the running board, really making it easy to move around. The second is what we call the neutral position. And so when a snowmobile doesn't have anybody on it, the weight is more biased towards the front. The neutral position is when somebody stands on the vehicle. Now the vehicle is perfectly weighted front to back with the rider on the vehicle. What that does is it allows a small movement forward, back, or side to side predictably impact the vehicle every single time. You don't have to crawl around and try and get yourself in this one certain spot to make a move. Where you naturally want to stand is the easiest place to move the vehicle.
Yeah, and again, from the rider's input, what I feel when I ride a sled, the Matryx specifically, is that I can be in this neutral position in the center of the sled, using my toes and pushing down with my palms, and having the sled be essentially one with my body. And what is different between a Matryx and our competition is on this sled, we are literally, like you're saying, standing in the middle of the snowmobile versus being all the way in the front. And how that affects you on the snow is it takes less input for the sled to do what you want to do. And also the transitions from neutral to the wrong foot forward, those motions are a lot easy and more fluid, again, using less energy.
The fourth and last piece that we're going to talk about today really goes hand in hand with the ergonomics, and that's our vertical steering. So like Chris talked a lot about just there, being able to manipulate the vehicle. Part of being able to manipulate the vehicle and move it through the hill is being able to move the vehicle with your hands. That's the part that's connected all the time, and that's the part you're making the inputs on. What our vertical steering is, technically, is a steering arc that's relatively flat. It's not perfectly flat, as you can see, but the vertical post that goes down and links underneath the hood here keeps the vehicle, or the bars, relatively flat to the vehicle. What that does is no matter the position you're in, you have what we call consistent leverage. It's not like your left hand has all the strength and your right hand's down in a spot where you don't have any leverage. It keeps both of your hands in this high leverage position, whether you're all the way off the side of the sled, riding in the neutral position, or coming back.
The key to being successful in the mountains is this steering post configuration. The reason this works is because you always want to be able to use the core strength of your body and not just use your arms like this. Being able to affect the change of direction with the snowmobile this way versus this way is what again makes the sled more predictable. And also, how many times do you get on edge in the mountains? It's literally thousands in a day. And so anytime we can do a process that makes getting on edge easier, which is again, using the core of your body instead of your arms, being able to make that more efficient, make the sled work for you instead of against you, that's the key.
Exactly right. And that's just a few of the details on what makes this Matryx work so well out in the backcountry, and some of the taste of what we're going to have coming in our new series, Sled Tech. All the deep dives, we got engines and different snowmobiles and comparisons and all sorts of stuff coming up. So Chris, thanks for swinging by for our first episode. Make sure you stay tuned to our channel and see what we got coming next.